Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Archeryshack Shop Talk podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
We're back again.
Yep.
Y'all are still tuning in, and we're back. We're going to talk about archery, bow hunting, bows, hoes, and does. But anyway, maybe not, but maybe so. You never know. I got me an energy drink to get a little pepped up. I usually don't drink them, and now I got heartburn and all this stuff, but I've only got a little bit left. And it was like $12 for this thing, so I'll just go ahead and drink it.
Next time, try NOS.
I usually don't. I bet I can count on one hand how many times I've drank an energy drink in my life. And I've only drank 3 or 4, no joke. But they always give me heartburn. I ain't got it real bad. But I've tried all the different, I hadn't tried that one, but the 2 top brands I've tried. And I remember when we went to ATA, I was still working full-time teaching at the college. I got off at 5, drove an hour home, had to drive 9 hours to Indianapolis that night to get to the ATA show before the next morning. And I remember I bought me about 3 energy drinks, and I kept thinking, I never did drink them that night, but I think Dawn might have drank one. But we got there at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and it was a mess. 4 foot of snow on the ground. Good times.
Good
I remember,
times.
Speaking about that, this is not what we're supposed to be talking about, but
we got a helicopter outside.
We got a helicopter coming over. I don't know if y'all can hear it through the microphone, but it's loud.
Oh, worthy bird.
Wow. But anyway, I think it was 2014. I didn't have enough days off, and I was like, I'm going to the ATA show, and I'd never called in sick before, and I was like, screw it. I knew if I could call in like one day sick, it would make it to where I could. It seemed like that year the ATA started like on the weekend and ended maybe on a Monday. It was something weird. So I called in sick and all this stuff, and it worked out. I didn't get caught, but that was one of the only times I ever called in sick. Go to some archery stuff. But anyway, good times. We should just have a podcast and talk about trips and shows or whatever.
Oh, man, we could go on for days.
We've had some doozies.
Yep.
On different archery event trips and shows, and I guess we could talk about a couple now because we didn't got everybody's interest piqued. I'm gonna bring up the hog balls. We had they have an event called the Rack Out up in Westminster, in Walhalla.
Walhalla,
yeah. And we went up there.
Set up a little booth.
It always sucks because it's like right before hunting season starts, and we're so busy here, it's hard to leave here to go set up a booth. But one year, well, actually 2 or 3 years, we did. And I mean, I loaded the little truck down. I got a picture somewhere, but I mean, it's like loaded. We took the bow press, the arrow saw. I was like, anything happens or anybody needs anything, we're going to fix it on the spot. And we took a couple bows and some arrows and the whole 9 yards. Well, we didn't get 10 minutes up the road, and it looked like a scene from the Daytona 500 crash, and stuff went flying out of the back of the truck. But the funniest part was we had these, they call them hog balls. It's these little scent balls from Blackwood of Scents. And one of them fell out, or more than one. They went all over the road. So we pull over. There's stuff all out in the road, archery-related stuff. In a turn, well, a guy named Hubert that owns a farm up the road, here he comes in his dually, flying down the road. And he hollers, y'all going to kill somebody? And we out there trying. He stopped, I think it helped, but we trying to get all this crap out of the road. Anyway, so we pull up in Walhalla about an hour away. I mean, we look like the Clampetts, But we set up a nice little booth and sold some stuff, and it was a fun time, but we still laugh about that.
The only thing we missing was Granny.
Yeah, up on the rocker. If she'd have been back there, we wouldn't have lost it all.
I know.
And then there's countless stories about shoots. One of my favorites being we went to an indoor shoot. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to incriminate anybody. TJ actually didn't go on this trip.
I had to work.
Went to an indoor shoot. Ended up in the hotel room by myself, which I was glad of. Put my brother-in-law in the hotel room with another fellow that comes out here that will remain nameless. So long story short, we had to shoot 2 rounds. We had to shoot one on Friday night, one on Saturday morning, and then we were coming back. So we shot the Friday night round. We were done at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. We were down in Columbia, South Carolina, about 2.5, 3 hours from here. Went and ate some sushi and stuff, had a good time. Well, on the way back, we took my brother-in-law's Jeep. The other guy that was with us was like, hey, pull in the store for a minute. And I was thinking, okay, he just needs like a Coke or something. He comes out with a case of beer. And I was thinking, it's already like 9:30 at night. what are you going, we got to shoot at 8:30 in the morning. Why are you getting a case of beer? But I didn't say nothing. He wasn't staying with me. He was in the room with my brother-in-law. So anyway, I go back to the room, watch a little TV, go to sleep. I wake up about 7, go down there to get me some cereal at their little breakfast thing. And my brother-in-law's already down there with a concerned look. And he said, we got a problem. And I said, well, what is that? He said, so-and-so came back to the room at about 6 this morning with an Asian prostitute. And I said, say again? He said, he is laid up in the room, passed out with an Asian woman. And I was like, well, we got 30 minutes, or it wasn't even 30 minutes at this point. We got to be out of here. We got to check out and go. So this is probably the best part of it. He checks out and leaves the fella and the Asian lady in the room, half naked, or I think naked, I don't know, and passed out in the bed.
Yep.
So we go start shooting. Of course, the whole talk of the place that morning was what, he's showed up with an Asian woman. And my brother-in-law was like, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, we had to actually get back to the shop because that afternoon we were having a 3D shoot here, a little team shoot like we do. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to play. So I left a voicemail and I texted and I was like, listen, if you ain't ready to go when we get done shooting, I'm sorry, but you're going to stay in Columbia, South Carolina. You're going to have to find a way home. And I kid you not, we were putting our bows in the car, getting ready to head back his way, and he called me and was like, please come get me, please come get me. And the hotel was about 10 minutes down the road. We went and got him. He looked like death. It was bad. And that was probably one of the better stories I've got. And, wow.
Yeah.
Asian stripper. Asian stripper. That was a good one. And then, Lord, we got stories dating back to the early 2000s where we went to the beach and shot, and I ran into a 1981 Mercury Cougar down at the beach and
had to jump the median because we was in the wrong lane of traffic.
One of the best from that particular trip, probably the best story other than me ramming that. Well, the story behind that, just a quick part of it was we kind of got stuck in the mud. It had rained and rained and rained. I put it in 4-wheel drive and stomped it, and it was still spinning. Well, it backed up a little bit, and I caught asphalt and went flying across this tiny little road, and luckily I had a hitch hauler on the back. I had a Yukon at the time, and I nailed this parked car in the door, but it was old, and they ended up being like, don't even worry about it. The door wouldn't even open on it. But anyway, I got something crawling in my ear.
It rained so much that weekend that we got to shoot the one side. It rained all night. Mm-hmm. They had to move the other targets, and people were walking out like in waist deep mud from that rain.
It was bad. I've never seen nothing like it again.
The old Walmart come through with some duck boots, though. Everybody
had them black boots from Walmart on the next day, but we took a bag target with us to the hotel because we wanted to practice, and so we were about 4 floors up, 4 or 5 floors up.
Yeah, and where our room was,
it was like a U-shaped hotel.
Yeah. And I know it, like my little room was here, yours was on the other side. It had it separated by like a little kitchenette. Mm-hmm. But when you walked out on my end, it opened up this big balcony.
Yeah. And I was like, you run out there with that bag target down there by the pool, and I'm going to fire a couple arrows off. Well, I didn't realize how much it was going to echo in that big U-shaped hotel. So I fired off an arrow or two, and we had old people out on the balcony calling security. We didn't get caught or in any trouble, but after a couple shots, I was like, we might as well just go ahead and stop.
Oh, I remember running and grabbing the target and running as fast as I could back in there.
I remember my first ASA shoot, I went with a bunch of people, and they were like, we want to practice. And we were in this hotel down in Florida, and they set up a bag target down a hallway. It was completely unsafe. I'm a teenager at the time, and they're out there. I shot a couple too. It wasn't just them, but we're shooting down the hallway at a bag target. And I kept thinking, man, if somebody walks out, this is going to be bad. But I forget, something happened to one guy's bow, and I think he wanted to make sure his sight was good before the next morning. We ended up doing that. But anyway, you can't go on a trip and something not happen with us, which is good and bad. You'll have a good story, but we've never had anything happen that like injured anybody.
No, nobody's ever got injured. It's just always it's always a good time, and there's always a funny story.
Almost always.
Well, there was that one time that you like killed both of us for running a red light.
Yeah.
But
I got distracted. What do you call it? I was a distracted driver.
yeah,
The AS, I don't know. We just all kind of. I remember the only story I've heard that might top anything we got was when the stripper problem happened. A lady that was sitting beside me listening to it at that shoot, she said, "Well, we were down at an ASA shoot one time, and they said we woke up with a bunch of cops beside our room, and they said they found somebody dead in the room beside us." And I was like, "Okay, that might top the stripper story."
yeah.
But anyway.
Well, there's probably some more, but I don't think we'd be allowed to.
There's a ton of them. We should just have a storytelling, or maybe we should put more of them into the podcast.
Yeah.
We had I don't know. There's the ATA. We had some people with us that booked a $40 a night room, and I had to cover them with a gun till they got in the room. And somebody tried to sell them dragging a mattress down the road, tried to sell them a mattress, and poor old Bob was. Him and his wife were naked, and the cleaning lady busted in and didn't think nobody was there, and he pulled a gun on her naked, and she about fell off the balcony running, and it's all kinds of stuff. But anyway, thank y'all for listening.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
Oh, me. Well, as of all, I'm going to throw out a question, and this is one that I think a lot of people really don't think a whole lot about, and we haven't talked a whole lot about on the podcast, but what's your favorite release?
Yeah. A lot more people are going to a handheld type release.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like every time we've ordered them, we've sold them, and we got a bunch in now, but that's a good question. I'll tell you my opinion real quick, and that is I've shot them all, but I always go back to a wrist strap style, mainly because I don't want to spend the time it's going to take to get used to a handheld, and that's my problem, but it's just so comfortable to go back to that thing. And I know the whole story. I've shot back tensions, I've shot thumb buttons, I've shot all that. I know it's going to be a 6 month, maybe even a year process to get into that. And I know my score is going to go down for a while until I get used to it. And I'll get into them and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm going back to my wrist strap. But that's just me.
I'm kind of the same. I've got a handheld, but most of the time I go back to my wrist strap. But once I got that one last year, I told myself, as far as tournament wise, I'm gonna stick with it no matter what happens. I'm gonna make myself shoot it, and the one I got, I can change it over to a back tension. So probably when tournament season comes around, I may shoot the thumb button a little bit, and I may switch it over and make myself shoot a back tension, because I've just never had any good luck with a back tension. So I just want to make
I really like the feel of a back tension, but when like people are watching me or I'm under just the tiniest bit of pressure, I don't think about anything except the release, and then I make myself shoot it weird, and I make it go off, and that was my whole problem. If I was going to go dedicated back tension, I'd probably start shooting it mid to late August and just shoot every day a couple shots at least all the way through January, February, and get used to it. That's how I'd have to do it. Yep. I don't think I could just pick it up and go start shooting it.
No, that's why I haven't changed it over to the back tension. It's still on thumb button.
That's a good question.
But we had some questions come in. All the questions, I don't know where they come from, but they didn't leave me anything. But what are starter bow options for a 7-8-year-old?
That's actually a good question. We get a lot of calls about that. A lot of brands out there,
Yep.
in our particular shop, with what we carry, the Bear and the PSE stuff sells well, but in those two options, if you're a 7 or 8 year old, according to how big they are, but let's start with a smaller bow. The Bear has the Royale, and it's a whole package of a whisker biscuit and a sight and a quiver and the whole 9 yards. All you need is arrows and a release, but it sells for like $300, and it'll go all the way out to like 27 or 28 inches.
Yeah.
And in the same category, PSE has the mini burner for about the same price, about the same draw length. And it's sort of a small frame bow, both of them are. If they're a little bit on the bigger side of a kid and they want a bow that's going to fit them for longer, as far as like poundage and all that, I'd say step them up to like a PSE Stinger, because they'll go down to 30-something pounds and up to 65 or 70, I think. And then the Cruiser G2 from Bear is kind of in the same boat. And you can let them things out to like 30 inches. And, Mission has a lot of good stuff. A lot of good bows out there, but that would be my, you're looking at about $300 roughly. Well, a little more than that because you got to get arrows and stuff. $300 to $400 will get you going with a good kid's bow, though. And most of them, they can keep them forever.
Yeah.
The only reason they would want to change is, if they wanted a little bit faster bow or something like that. But otherwise, they could shoot it from now till
whenever.
Adulthood, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is a favorite one-pin sight.
What you reckon?
I haven't shot a spot hog like the Fast Eddie or the Fast Eddie XL. I know they make the double pin. I want to try it, but right now I'm running an XL AccuTouch Carbon Pro single pin, and I don't know. I just, for some reason, I like XL. I haven't had any problems out of them. It's a good sight. I mean, but there are a ton of nice one-pin sights out there. I mean,
I feel like HHA sort of started off the one-pin craze, and they're still a big maker of sights. And then Black Gold has been a good sight. I feel like in the past year or two, Spot Hogs really gained traction, and they're kind of, as far as popularity, not necessarily how that works or anything, but the Spot Hog's sort of top of the list. Excel, I feel like Excel, as far as machining and adjustability and super micro clicks and stuff, Excel's where it's at. CBE makes stuff, just all sorts of people. Trophy Ridge makes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the cheap end, I'd say a Trophy Ridge would be the way to go from 60 to 100. From 60 to $100. Even though, they make like the React 1 Pro that's around $300, and it's super fancy with lights, and I mean it is nice. Then HHA makes a $100 model and up, and it's all metal. All of those, really, I don't know of a bad one that I can think
either.
of. HHA still makes great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Excel, some of that Excel carbon stuff is nice, and it's lightweight.
I'm trying to think. I don't think.
The thing about the Spot Hog, like the Fast Eddie, though, is this nice because it's got the wheel. You can move it quick. It's also got, on the hog father and stuff, you got a micro button and that type of thing, so you can do all kind of stuff with it.
Well, and I think the one thing I like about the Spot Hogs, and I think HHA has the same thing, is they come with calibration tapes.
Yeah.
And so what you do with those, it makes it easy. You go get a 20-yard mark. You put your calibration tape on it at 20 yards. Mm-hmm. It's got a little 20-yard mark. You line it up, and then you go to 60 yards, and it tells you what tape to run. Mm-hmm. And then you run it and go out and check your stuff. And
it don't get much. The only problem that I run into with that, and you've seen it too, is you get a new shooter in here, and you put them at 60, and they're not comfortable.
Yep.
And they're all over the place, and it turns into you just got to get them close at 60 to where you think it's close. But 70% of the people, they're fine. But I have had a few new people, and at 60, there's no. I mean, they're not ready for that.
Yeah.
But I agree.
And this one is probably I don't know if there's really a clear-cut answer, but how to get over target panic.
Man, it's something. It is bad. I've flirted with target panic before. Sometimes on a Vegas target, I'll still want to hold bottom of the yellow to this day. But, I guess the best answer to give would be, and I know somebody that had it bad, and here's kind of what I did for them. We took the sight off the bow, shot for 2 or 3 weeks at just a couple yards, no target at all. Literally pulling back with the eyes closed, just getting the muscle memory, the feel of what it should feel like for the bow to fire. Nice, good shots, good follow through, good form. Put the sight back on his bow for like another 2 weeks. We shot at like 5 yards, and there's something just mental that's like, hey, I'm only at 5 yards. I can put the pin wherever. And sure enough, that's what he said. He'd put it in the X shoot, 2 weeks of that. And then we back up to 20, and it worked for a while, and then he got it back again. I mean, it's like the flu or something, but when you get it, it's bad. The worst I've ever had it was, I think I told this story in the shop the other day. I was going to shoot a state indoor tournament. To me, indoors where it affects me because there's like around here 20 or 40 or however many people in the building with you, they're not paying attention to you, but in your head they are, you know what I mean? But anyway, I was going to an indoor shoot. This was probably like 2002. And my center serving, I mean, I'm like 5 minutes from needing to leave, and my center serving looked like it was about to break under my loop. So some stuff had just came out, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was made for that particular thing. We sold it back at Bucks and Bass, and you would brush it on to the serving, and it was like, if you're out in the field and your serving looks like it's going to break, brush this on, it'll get you through till whenever. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to brush this on because I got to go. I ain't got time to reset this thing up. Well, I guess I got it somehow on my loop, or maybe when I got there, I was touching it and got it on my release. I don't know, but I know I went to shoot, and it was a little bit of a tacky feel to it, and I pulled the trigger on my release, and the string, it didn't shoot. Like the tackiness of it had it caught in the jaw, so I about half let down, and that arrow went flying, and I hit the target, but it wasn't a good, it was way off. And I thought, oh my God. And I was, paranoid, because we had another 50 shots to go, and here I am. Is this thing going to shoot, or am I going to pull the trigger and it be back? So at that point, I just want to hit the target mode, and it did it like one or two more times, and that set off awful target panic. And I know that's sort of a different story, but it was bad. I've also shot a long time ago a release that had a pinky trigger, and occasionally I'd mess up and hit that pinky trigger and it would shoot, and it tore my nerves up. I couldn't keep it together. I was so nervous about that happening that I just couldn't do it. But I'd say that's the best thing you can do is take your sight off. And this ain't like a do it one day thing. I'm telling you, you better look at 1 to 2 months if you really got it bad. Now 3D is different. A lot of people, there's not a definite dot you're aiming at or nothing. And people say, I don't really get target panic on 3D because I'm not aiming at an X-ring. And I kind of feel the same way. But
well, you can get it because what happens to me, and it never happens unless I'm like the first one to shoot, or, and a bad shot, I always try to shrug it off, go to the next target. It's one thing I like about 3D.
Yeah.
You can leave that bad shot behind, but it'll get in your head. And I actually I don't know if it's not target panic, but I forget to set my sight tape.
Yeah.
I'll range it.
Yeah.
Grab my air because I want to make sure I put an air in my bow, and then all of a sudden,
what I'll do,
forget to set it.
With 3D is I'll second guess, like not as much as used to. Used to when it was unknown yardage, I'd really do this. I'd set my sight, get pulled back and aiming, and then in the middle of me about ready to pull the trigger, I'd be like, I think that's a yard or two less than what you think it is, and I'd aim a little higher, a little low, and it'd always bite me in the butt. But even now, sometimes I'll be pulled back and aiming, and I'll think, that's barely downhill or uphill. You might ought to aim off where you need to, and then it usually screws me. But target panic ain't no joke. You get to punching the trigger and worried. And this guy I'm talking about, we'd go up and shoot indoor, and he would literally, when people would start shooting, it didn't matter if he was aimed at the wall, the window, the floor, he was shooting. And that's what he told me. He said, when I hear them bows going off, she's going. I don't care where I got to hit the trigger.
Let's see. If we don't get to all the questions, we're running about out of time a little bit. But let's see. This is a good one, and we've actually talked about this one a couple weeks ago. But is the Sherlock Carbonic available yet?
That joker. So the story, it's a slide bar. It's a tournament sight. Levi Morgan and supposedly John Dudley helped develop it. It looks super slick. They brought it to a show, I think, going on 3 years ago. And we're like, this is going to be our new sight. And I used to be a Sherlock man. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get one. Well, I don't know what happened, where they're being made at, none of that. But they were like, it's going to be released in the springtime. Springtime came. They didn't release it. It's going to be released in the summer. That's happened for the last 3 years. They hadn't released none of them. Yeah. I seen where I think you can get a black one now. So I guess the quick answer to that is I think there's a few black ones available. But other than that, I don't think they're really released yet 3 years later. And if you get on their Facebook page, there's a lot of angry people about that. And I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. How short is too short for your ATA?
Personal preference, you know what I mean? I don't think we'll see bows. I don't think we'll see shootable bows, like accurate what I'd consider accurate shootable bows go much shorter than they are now, which is about 28 inches. Even at 28, I can go out there and I've tuned these bows and I'll be at like 60 yards and I'm really, really, really watching the bubble and watching there's such a string angle. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm still more of like a 32, 33 inch hunting bow man, but you get much shorter than 28, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's like the gearheads. We've ordered a couple of them. You get a little 20-incher in the gearhead, and yeah, it's cool. It's super compact, but past about 30 yards, it just don't feel right. And I don't know. My group's open up.
But like you said, that's a personal preference kind of thing. So don't take it to heart.
Yeah. I think 28, though, is about, there ain't much they can do to make it much more stable. You know, they got these huge cams on it, long riser, but.
Yep. Do we like outserts on theirs? I don't.
Not really. Some of the Black Eagle stuff, like the Deep Impact and all that, they got an outsert, and it does like protect the arrow well and that type of thing. But as far as you can get them different metals to get them to weigh a lot and that type of thing. But as far as
appearance,
it looks like crap. It's hard to pull out of a bag target, that type of thing. Most people that see them, if somebody comes in and is like, I want a little micro arrow, and you show them that, 70% of them, when they see that outsert, they're like, I want a little arrow, but I don't want that outsert, so.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, there's no way, unless you go to like a Deep Six system like Easton's got, or some sort of hidden insert, there's no way to get away from it. So.
Yep. But to me, it's just gawky looking.
To me, it's gawky. If they're not machined just perfect and there's a little slop in them, then you got problems. And
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan.
And here's a good one: wristlings versus no wristlings.
That is a good one. I used to shoot a wristling even on my tournament bows. And I'll tell you what kind of got me not doing it was, well, for one, I mean, I don't ever potentially drop the bow. I mean, I maybe a couple times in 20 years I maybe have, but not really. But what got me quit doing it was that wristling would come down and like hit the riser when I'd shoot, and it would make me think something was loose. And finally I was like, I'm taking this thing off. But for years I shot one on every bow. I still shoot one on a hunting bow, but not on a tournament bow is my answer.
I still run it on my tournament bow and my hunting bows.
Yeah.
I tried to run a no sling thing early last year, and my groups went to crap. I mean, it just really
a mental thing.
I guess it's a mental thing, and it's just part of. You get a little quirkiness about how you got your setup and everything, but that was me.
Yeah.
I tried to shoot it, and I just kept gripping the bow different, and I'd grip it. I always tell people, don't try to wring a chicken's neck.
Yeah.
And so I found myself doing that, and I put a wrist sling back on it, and bam, it cleared it. So it's just a mental thing for me, but
it really don't matter. If you do or don't, definitely don't. Some people come out here and it'll be real tight on their wrist, and that actually creates torque in the riser.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen people not be able to paper tune a bow because their wrist sling is so tight. Don't do that. It's just there for that added assurance. If it does slip out of your hand, it's going to grab you by the wrist or whatever. So
yeah,
it's just preference.
It is, but like I said, for me, my groups just opened up, and it just I guess it's a mental thing, but. Let's see, I think we got time for one more. Cost to start a home shop.
That's a good one. I've been meaning, I don't know if I should make it in video form or like a blog post or something, but like just to come up with a random tool list of, if you wanted to work on your bow at home, here's a beginner type stuff you need. And then if you really want to get like bow presses and stuff, here's what you need. But I guess that's how we can start. If you're not talking about like a bow press, if you're just talking about, like tying the occasional loop, that type of thing, you're probably looking at $100. You really just need basic serving, maybe a serving jig, string separator, that type of stuff. Basic tools. Maybe a bow vise. And you can get a cheap bow vise. I've seen them on eBay. I think American Archery or somebody like that makes them, and they're about $50.
I will say though, if you're going to do a home shop, kind of splurge on a bow vise.
Yeah,
because that's really,
yeah,
you'll get one that's got some slop in it, and you end up fighting the vise more than you do setting anything up. So just like your vise, just go ahead and kind of splurge on it.
They start at 50, but then like he's talking about, if you want to get a good vise, you're going to start at probably what, $150, $200,
$150, $200. But if you're going to be working on your own stuff,
well, like I think it's about $250, but like, am I telling that? Is it $250 Baker's vise?
I can't remember.
I think I'm telling it right. But anyway, his vise, the good thing about it is if you shoot any firearms, it'll hold a bow, it'll hold a crossbow, it'll hold an AR. I mean, it'll hold a rifle. You can do all kind of stuff with it the way it's made. It holds it by the grip.
Yeah.
Check it out. But so I'd say very beginning shop, you're looking at spending around $100. Let's take it one more click to where you get like a portable bow press. You could get like the Cinema press for around $100, I think.
Yeah.
Or even a Bowmaster. I think it's a little cheaper than that, but that Cinema I really like. So now you're at $200. But let's say you really want to work on stuff. You're going to get like you might could find one used, but I doubt it, but get like a Last Chance Easy Green press. They're about $4, maybe a little over $4. And then if you went all out, you could get the drawboard attachment for it. You'd have 6 or 7 in the bow press with the drawboard, and then the other tools. So let's say you're at, $800 to $1,000 to really, really be set up to do stuff, So, it's according to what you want to do. Basic stuff, $100. Get a portable press, $250 total with everything you need. And then really, deck out like a man cave. You're looking, let's just say $1,000,
Yeah. But yep. That's what I was thinking. But like I said, I would, if you're going to work on your own stuff and, you don't want a bow press, you just want to be able to, make sure your center shot's on, level your arrow up, anything like that, splurge and get a good vise.
And I'll say this, though, if you're looking for a cheap vise, I've been meaning to order one here just so we could say we tried it, but people are ordering, what it is a bike stand, and you can clamp it around the grip, and it's adjustable just like a bow vise, and they're on Amazon for like $20, It may not be micro adjustable, but if you need the most basic thing, you can use it. I also know people that don't even use a bow vise. I know shops that don't use bow vises. They got like a carpeted counter, and they lay the bow there and do everything with it laying down. To me, that would feel weird, but you could do it, I just like to be able to level stuff and move it around, but yeah. Maybe we'll make a video on, how to, not necessarily like start a bow shop, but how to set up a nice home work area type thing.
Yep.
But we appreciate y'all's questions. If you have any, as always, you can text them in, which a lot of people do. The number for that is 843-560-9898. You can email them to archeryshack@gmail.com, or you can call the shop and talk to one of us directly, 864-735-8484. And it's kind of what keeps us going on the podcast without just randomly talking. These questions really help. So keep them coming in, and we appreciate that.
We apologize for any that we missed. I'll go back through and check, and whatever we didn't hit, we'll definitely get on the next one.
Yeah, we'll get them. And, these videos we've been putting out a bow-related video on Sunday morning and then a podcast on Wednesday morning, and it's turned out good. A lot of calls to the shop. A lot of people's drove from 3, 4, 5 hours away because they, see that we kind of do things the right way or whatever. So we appreciate that. People's walked in and surprised me. I'm from, I drove 4 hours. I'm like, man, how'd you find us? It's always YouTube. So that's kind of cool.
And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button.
Mm-hmm. We're trying to we're approaching it quick. So, there's a good chance we could have already hit it, but we're trying to get over that 1,000 subscriber mark because there's some extra things we can do. Like we can go live on a mobile device, which is sort of a big thing. Not having to I don't want to go live through like a webcam because it's not as good a resolution, and I don't want to have to go into all that. So anyway, we're going to start doing some live videos soon, and maybe some live bow builds, and who knows what. But give us a like, give us a subscribe.
Yep.
Keep on listening. We put them out every week. And thank y'all for listening.
Thank y'all.
We will talk to you next time.
See y'all.